Welcome to our Soulful Leadership moment. Today, we're going to be talking about awareness and what horses can teach us about awareness and leadership. You know, if you watch a herd of horses for just a few moments, you'll notice something remarkable because they're doing two things at once. Yeah, they're good multitaskers. They've got one ear listening, eyes scanning, their bodies relaxed but ready. And this is awareness in action. Not fear, not tension, presence. You know, if there's one truth that shows up again and again in leadership and personal growth, it's this. Nothing changes until you become aware of what needs to change and why the same undesirable outcomes keep repeating. Now, most of us want to skip straight into action. You know, fix it, make decisions, push forward. But action without awareness becomes reaction. Well-intended, maybe even disciplined, but rarely transformative. Awareness is the moment the lights come on. It's when we stop running on autopilot and begin choosing consciously. Awareness is not passive. It's not just noticing. It takes courage to see reality as it is, without denial, without defensiveness, and without blame. Because whether we realize it or not, we're all living inside patterns we didn't consciously choose. You know, we all have beliefs inherited from family or culture, emotional responses shaped by old experiences, leadership habits formed under pressure or urgency, and also our nervous system patterns that are influenced by past trauma. You know, until those patterns are recognized, they're going to quietly run your show. And so that's why awareness always comes first. You can't interrupt what you can't see. You can't recalibrate what you're unaware of. And you can't lead others beyond the level of awareness you're willing to cultivate in yourself. You know, in the book, Leadership Mindset Weekly, Blaine Bartlett speaks about what he calls the domain of awareness. Now, this domain sits beneath strategy, tactics, and execution. It asks a deeper question. From what level of consciousness am I leading? You know, this is where leaders examine their internal narratives, the emotional and energetic quality they bring into a room, the lens through which they interpret people, problems, and possibilities. When awareness expands, leadership capacity expands with it. Decisions get cleaner. Communication gets clearer. Reactivity gives way to responsiveness, and presence replaces pressure. This isn't soft work. Actually, it's foundational. You know, Neville Goddard, if you've read any of his work, he said it very plainly in The Power of Awareness. His work is very good in this area of awareness. It's a very good read. It's worth the read. But he says man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. Now that line lands hard because it challenges our habit of looking out there for the reason things aren't working or somewhere to blame. We look to other people, we look at circumstances, we look at timing, we look at systems. But change your actions without changing consciousness, and you'll eventually circle back to the same repeating results. So change consciousness first, and behavior follows naturally. You know, and all of this that we're talking about in change takes the awareness of what patterns are occurring. This is why horses are such powerful teachers of awareness and transformation, because they don't respond to titles or words or intention alone. They respond to internal state, internal coherence. They know if you're congruent inside or incongruent. They are aware of your presence. because they reflect what is without judgment. They invite us into the present moment, and awareness only ever lives in that present moment. You know, awareness is not a destination, it's a discipline. The most impactful leaders aren't the ones with the most answers. They're the ones willing to keep asking better questions, starting with themselves. Because every meaningful change begins the same way, with the courage to see clearly. So, if you're ready to take your level of awareness to a whole new level, and not just talk about it, not just think about it, I invite you to consider joining me for a 2-day intensive called the 48-Hour Breakthrough. It's not 2 days of more information. It is an absolute shift in consciousness, because lasting change doesn't start with doing more. It starts with seeing more and choosing from there. Let's take in a deep grounding breath. And what are you aware of as you focus on these horses? All right. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes out with us today. I wish you all many blessings and much abundance as you continue on.